For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. All of this is occurring where Jesus is healing on the Sabbath, and the Jewish leaders are upset, and so this is a defense of his deity by claiming to be equal with his Father. And he does this in verse 17. But Jesus answered them, my Father is working until now, and I am working. He is equating the work of the Father with his own work. It's obvious that that's what he meant because of the response of the leaders. This is why the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. He is saying, what the Father is doing, I am doing. The Father was working, I am working. Don't complain what I'm doing, because I'm just doing what the Father's doing. Every act of God is an act of the triune God. John's comment here is that they thought that he was teaching essentially ditheism, that there are two gods. But of course, Jesus is not saying there are two gods. He has something entirely different. So what Carson argues is that the following verses, verses 19 through 30, within that context of his claim of deity, that actually what Jesus then is explaining in verses 19 through 30 is the truth about the one God. In other words, he is explaining now this distinctly Christian understanding of monotheism. In verse 19, Jesus is refuting their concern, and he's insisting, I am not a separate or independent deity. He says, my Father is working and I am working, and they're thinking, oh, he thinks he's God and God's God. He thinks there's two gods. And what does Jesus say in verse 19? Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing, for whatever the Father does, that the Son does likewise. The Jews think he believes there are two gods, and he says, nope, everything the Father does, I also do. How is it the case that the Son sees everything that the Father does? For whatever the Father does, so the Son likewise does. He's arguing for unity between himself and the Father, not as if they're separate gods. There's a unity here. And it's followed by three more gar clauses. So for whatever the Father does, so the Son does likewise. Verse 20, for the Father loves the Son and shows him all that he does, and greater works than these will he show him. For as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give it. So he's further explaining the idea of the coextensive reality of the actions of the Father and the Son. They are one, not two gods, but one God. And then verse 22, here's the third gar. For the Father judges no one, but has entrusted all judgment to the Son. That is, the Son exercises judgment and raises the dead precisely because the Father has entrusted such work to him. Right? So a unity of their action. Whatever life in himself means in the Father's existence, it means the same thing in the Son's existence.